Happy to take questions.
Just on that, Prime Minister, to clarify how there has been criticism today, I don't know if I spoke to you about who concerns that the government is not sharing information like it should be with regards to where a lot of Māori are living, so that they can actually get them vaccinated quickly.
We had a very brief conversation, and clear to me is that we actually share the same goal. And so they have some data, but of course what they're looking for is the ability to know at an individual level, and an individual household level, who is and who isn't vaccinated. And of course that data is held by some but not all. Again, we share the goal to get as many people vaccinated as possible, and between our providers and the Ministry of Health, I'm very keen that we find a way through. There are some who don't want their data provided, but I think we all have an interest in making sure that people are safe.
So what are you doing specifically about that though? Because ProCare in Auckland has actually got people knocking on doors. Why is that not happening in a region?
And that's because, as I say, there are providers that do have that information, but some providers have come in and sought it as well. And so some don't want their information shared with multiple providers, but we all have the goal of making sure that people are safe, that we're reaching them individually and offering them a vaccine. So that's where the Ministry of Health has tried to find a way through that satisfies everyone. It means for those providers, not everyone has individual data, but they do know the areas where we have lower vaccination rates, and that's where they're going in and targeting those areas with door knocking.
Prime Minister, in Gisborne, do Māori have to reach 90% vaccination before the area goes into orange?
No, of course what we're looking at across New Zealand is just good, high, solid vaccination rates that have good spread across a region or a district. And that's because we know with good regional spread, that makes it less likely that an outbreak could take hold and cause real issues for a community, but also for our healthcare providers. And so those areas where we've initially gone into red, that is because those are the areas we've tended to see lower rates across the board.
I think Andrew Little said this morning that Māori had to be 90% vaccinated in Tairawhiti.
No, we haven't set any hard targets in that way. Yes, vaccination makes a very big difference. It is one of the key factors at this entry point that we are looking at, but we're also looking at a number of other factors alongside it. What I said yesterday, though, was these first set of decisions will be different to the ones that we take in the future, and that's because we are transitioning. There's a lot changing in our system at the moment, and we want to step into it cautiously. So that means for those districts with lower vaccination rates, we'll be even more cautious again.
Why 1,100 fewer rooms in MIQ?
Well, of course, at any given time, and I don't have the specific numbers that we have on-stream or off-stream at any given time. At any specific time, though, there will be rooms that are vacated for switchovers. So once a cohort leaves, we'll have vacant rooms. They're cleaned, refreshed, and then made available for the next cohort that comes through. We keep emergency provision, and we keep rooms available for community-managed isolation as well. So there's a number of reasons why at any given time we might have some vacancies.
Can you give people overseas who can't get in an assurance that they will be able to get in case the borders get tighter again because of the new variant?
Well, we, of course, throughout this pandemic, have had very careful and cautious border controls, and they've served us well. And you can see now with the emergence of a variant, with many other countries either reinstating or creating border controls, we already have ours in place. We've done that while still having, if I recall, up to 190,000 people come through our borders safely. So we have maintained our MIQ. All our international arrivals are still coming through it, and we, of course, continue to honour the bookings that we have with New Zealanders offshore.
Prime Minister, Omicron. Australia is looking at reducing the time between the second and third dose for the booster shot.
Yeah.
Should we be considering something the same here?
We always take the advice of our experts. It served us really well, and so they were the ones that advised us to offer a booster for all New Zealanders who were eligible, who had their second dose 6 months ago. But again, if they, based on evidence, choose to recommend us to shorten that time, of course we will be willing to follow that advice.
They're saying like 2 months after your second dose that you need the third.
I don't believe Australia has made any final decisions. I see that the UK has given consideration, but I also note that the UK has only recently started offering second dose for their children and a booster shot for everyone. So some countries are in different places. Of course, we are in a good spot, having just recently vaccinated a large bulk of our population, and now having boosters available for everyone that's had theirs 6 months ago. It means we've got good general coverage. If our advisory groups say to us, look, we think we should shorten that time, we are able to do that, but we always listen to the evidence and advice.
Prime Minister, the iwi up north, Te Waitangi, they're deciding tonight whether they want a hard border in place over summer. Would you allow this to happen?
So as we've said with the boundary between Auckland and the north, of course there is an expectation that any traveller that is coming from Auckland does need to either be double vaccinated or have had a negative test result in the previous 72 hours. And we've said that it'll be up to police to determine how they will enforce that. That is an operational decision. We will leave that to them, and I know that they intended to work with community in determining how they'll do that.
What would you say to the iwi though, and to those up north who are worried about people coming north? Why shouldn't they have their own border?
Of course, we have moved very carefully. The COVID protection framework offers a layer of protection. Equally, those within Auckland, we've got rates as high as 90% double vaccinated. We're asking them to either be vaccinated or tested, and of course, we're checking the compliance of that. We're doing everything we can to keep people safe. But I would ask that they work closely with police on any further work that they'd like done around our boundaries.
So you won't be getting involved if they choose to put a border in place?
This is an issue that I have absolute confidence and trust in the ability of the police to work with local community in determining how to check the compliance of that ask that we have of travellers over the summer to the north.
Prime Minister, Lady Tudei Moxon is disappointed along with other Māori health providers with the inequity of funding given to businesses, 940 million per fortnight compared to boosting Māori vaccination rates at 120 million. Is this fair in your opinion?
Well, these are two very different goals that we have. Of course, on the one hand, we do want to make sure that all eligible New Zealanders are vaccinated. Specifically, we have worked hard to accelerate Māori vaccination rates, and we are seeing that move. 82% of Māori have now had their first dose. We can see the boost of that extra $60 million that was specifically put in to accelerate those rates is making a difference. What we announced yesterday, though, is all about keeping people in employment. And right now, New Zealand has one of the lowest unemployment rates that we've had on record, and in the middle of an economic crisis. So our job is to protect people's lives, but also their livelihoods.
Is business prioritising over saving Māori lives?
Not at all. Absolutely not. You can see our entire response around COVID has been about saving people's lives, protecting their health, and at the same time working very hard to protect their livelihoods. Our plan has been about both, and we've been world leading in that regard.
Lady Tuleti and others in Māori Initiative medical centres are going to the Waitangi Tribunal in terms of data, receiving data.
Yes.
What do you say to that? And will this health centre, Te Koho, will they receive this data?
So the health centre do have data. What they're looking for is that at an individual level. And some providers have that, but some providers want additional access to it as well. Look, I welcome support in helping to resolve these issues, because we've got two competing demands, some who are seeking for their privacy to be maintained and others who wish to be able to access the information. Our goal is the same though. We want to vaccinate our people. We want people to be safe. And I welcome any help and support in resolving some of those issues.
Prime Minister, Māori are some of the most infected, hospitalised by Delta and Aotearoa, while also being the least vaccinated. Do you accept that by having the country up? Even in the traffic light system, we are putting Māori at risk.
No, I think we have to look, I think, specifically at what changes are being made. We are, now that Tamaki Makaurau is highly vaccinated, we're allowing vaccinated or tested individuals to be able to move beyond the Auckland border, but that's after 4 months of keeping everyone in Tamaki Makaurau where they are. That was not a long-term strategy. It's not something that could be fairly or reasonably maintained. So as we shift, we are moving very, very carefully. The traffic light system is also about providing greater protection than we have now by using vaccine passes that make sure that unvaccinated people aren't being put at risk in environments where it is harder to keep them safe. And I'm confident that we can do that.
Nanaia has just completed her first world trip. Do you think having a proudly Indigenous woman at the forefront of Foreign Affairs gives Aotearoa the edge in the space?
I do, but I also think that she is an exceptional politician. I think she's an exceptional leader, and I think she's an exceptional diplomat. So for me, it's about all that Minister Mahuta brings to the role. We're very lucky to have her. Oh, sorry. Do you want I just and then
I'm just going to ask about protesters. Do you now expect to see them everywhere you go around the country?
No, look, not necessarily. Some days I do, some days I don't. But it's fair to say I roll with it no matter what.
Prime Minister, D-Day for the Nats today. What is your message to the new leader? And are you feeling threatened if there's a big rebrand with the likes of Mr Maxon?
So, look, I think that I've been up against 4 different leaders of the National Party, but regardless of the change in leadership with the opposition, my focus remains the same. Navigating New Zealand through this incredibly tough period of a pandemic and the economic impacts of it. My message to whoever takes on the mantle is just remember how important it is to focus on the things that New Zealand wants us focused on.
Prime Minister, are you concerned about the escalating crime wave in Auckland, particularly attacks on police?
Well, look, I don't think I would go so far to characterise it in that way. But of course, I think we have to constantly be mindful of the environment that our police are operating in. And in fact, recently we have committed, at the instigation of the work done by the police themselves, significant funding towards tactical response and safety provisions to ensure in the changing environment that they are working in, that they are kept safe. So that was a move proudly supported by Cabinet.
And you think police have enough resources to do that?
Yes, I mean they have gone through a process of establishing what further initiatives will help them in their frontline and tactical responses. They pulled together a package, we've endorsed it and funded it. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.